Hello! On behalf of the Boston Asian American Film Festival, welcome to the post-film conversation for Asian American Eyed, an immigrant comedy special. My name's Nate Chu. I'll be your moderator today. I'm a co-producer and host of Affirmative Reaction, the all-Asian comedy show here in Boston. I'm so pleased to be joined by three hilarious comedians who are featured in this film. Give it up for Tuazon Parsons, Aidan Park, Nicky Endres. Guys, thanks so much for joining us.
Hi, Boston.
Hello.
First of all, I just want to talk about it's so rare to see Asian American comedians at all. I feel like there's so few of us, So I'm just curious, how did you get your start in stand-up comedy and what made you really want to do it,
I think Aidan definitely needs to spearhead this one because he's actually the one that got both Nicky and I into stand-up.
Yeah. So as an Asian person who started in musical theater, I got frustrated because I'm not kidding. I did 9 productions of Miss Saigon, because I look like this. And I was just like, I can't one more time, but I really want to go on stage and sing. And so I started stand-up so I could go up and do parody songs. I was like, but then I was like, I better get good at the stand-up end of it, not just the singing. So I started doing that and I got real into it. So I was in it for like 5 years, and Anna's been my friend. As soon as I moved to Los Angeles, we met. How did we meet, Anna?
We met on background doing an Asher Roth music video. And we
love college
because of our love of musical theater. So we were like in the background, and then we're like, the heat is on in Saigon, you know what I mean? And it was just like an immediate connection. And then Nicky and I met at BGB Studio. Shout out to Teresa Brabman Garcia and Steve Braun, who supported us in this project. And because in acting class, or any, I think, acting class in LA, I flock towards the Asians. I'm like you, because there's usually very few of us in class.
Yeah.
So then I told Anna, you should start stand-up because she's funny.
Yeah.
And so we started doing stand-up together. And then I met Nicky at Anna's party. And I was like, you're hilarious. You need to do stand-up. You do stand-up, and you do stand-up, and you do stand-up.
Yeah, so how did the idea come about to film it, to make a special out of it?
That was Anna.
Yeah. So I just one day I had this realization that both Nicky and Aidan were immigrants, and I was like, I am too. So why don't we tell our stories together in a special? So that's sort of how it manifested.
Yeah.
It was like my titas, they were like talking in my head. They're like, Anna, you better make this. I was like, I don't know, Filipino ancestry coming to me.
Yeah.
Together.
No, it's simple as that, and did you film it all in one go? Is it cut together over multiple? What was the process like of actually shooting the special?
We took we shot it twice. So we kind of took the lead from other specials that we did 2 shows in one night, an earlier and a later show with 2 different audiences. So we kind of got 2 takes through the whole thing and ended up stitching it together and making the audience seem twice as big.
Where did you film the special? Where?
So we actually filmed it at BGB Studio. Again, shout out to Teresa and Steve. That's actually where Nicky and I met in acting class. And we were supported by them, the rehearsal process. We rehearsed for I think it was over a year, sort of stitching our stuff together, working mics and doing shows, and then finding out what fit. And then this project was definitely, it was from the heart, I think, from everybody, like Lena Callister, who was our DP. Our cameras were, everybody either gave their time for free or just gave us a real, discount. So I'm especially proud of this project because it is something that people believed in, and they just gave a lot to us. So I feel like it's one of those projects that's going to show because of the heart behind it.
Yeah, just yes and on that with BGB where we met, they're very into just creating that artistic leadership and taking initiative as artists to collaborate and get our voices out there. So that was also part of like the genesis of this as an idea. Is Anna's just got great skills at mobilizing. When she's got an idea she believes in, she's really great at like helping other people see the vision, because at the time, like, full disclosure, I was like depressed because like when you're a multi-dimensional minority or an intersectional identity, sometimes there's just things are changing in the industry, in Hollywood and all entertainment, thank goodness, but it's never quite at the pace that we who devote our lives to training in these mediums would prefer. And so when Anna said, let's make our own thing, and our acting studio and mentors and everything were like, make your own thing. I needed a little bit of convincing, but I was definitely like a hell yes once we got rolling. So I just feel very grateful for being able to work with my friends and within a community that was really encouraging.
Yeah, and Aidan and I, actually, maybe if you want to talk about this, Aidan, we had previously written a musical based on the basketball player Jeremy Lin. Aidan played Jeremy. So he can
I'm very tall. You can't tell on camera. I'm very tall.
Yeah. Well,
so we already collaborated together, and it just felt like a right fit for everybody.
Oh, nice.
That's really great at like spearheading these, because that came from you too, like the initial idea. So like, I love Anna because like I've known her for however many years, and we've done like how many productions together, and Anna's so just, and as this, I like people who are what is that word? It's not gritty. We're very Scrappy, thank you. That's and I love the scrappy nature.
Tenacious.
Too. I'm very scrappy, and Nicky's scrappy too. We're like, all right, let's go. We're like Mighty Mouse. So I really like working with Anna. Like I love the spirit of Anna, the way she approaches work, and the way she just, I don't know. I'm very proud to have her as our leader on this.
Yeah, no, that's great. Part of what I love about like stand-up showcases, like what you put together, is kind of how you're able to do it anywhere. Like compared to like traditional theater, all you need for stand-up is like a stool and a mic stand, pretty much. So it is a very accommodating to like all sorts of spaces and different places, and you can kind of make it really come together with like that kind of scrappiness, Just to circle back a bit, something I want to know more about is you talked about developing this piece for a year. What was kind of the writing process on it like? As comedians, I feel like we all have different ways of like coming up with jokes and how our senses of humor works. How did kind of the workshopping process allow you to build up that act that we saw in the final product?
I love that question, but someone else go first.
I think the three of us had different ways of approaching. Like I kind of went through my set and I said, this section here, this section there, because I've been doing it for however many years. So like I was like, okay, like what would, you know what I mean? And then so that was kind of but we all actually really had individual different processes. So
yeah, so we started, or I started just workshopping the Immigrant material, like on different stages and different mics and shows. And then I think what was so special to me about the final product was that we wanted it to be Baby Cobra, Ali Wong's Baby Cobra meets Hannah Gadsby's Nanette, where it's like very specific in our Asian experience and powerful, but also heartfelt. So like, and all the material, I feel like we just ended up choosing and putting together, came together in that way, which was really exciting for us. So that's sort of how it happened. And we were collaborating throughout the process and figuring out which pieces sort of fit.
Yeah, I started out as the weakest link for sure. Before I rose to the occasion to be a team player. I was brand new. I had like just taken like a stand-up class when Anna was like, oh, we should do this. And I'm like, great, I know what I'm doing. And so I was, both of you mentored me through the process, and Aidan had just put me on stage for the first time like a couple months before we started. And I was just like, I needed to approach it more like a one-person show that was funny. And so like Anna just said, with the framing of being our Asian immigrant experiences in particular, and then sort of the heart and cleverness of Ali Wong and Nanette, or Ali Wong and Hannah Gadsby, one of our names. That without that focus, I would have been floating, having like, oh guys, I think I wrote a joke. So I'm really grateful for that that framing, because it kind of gave me the boundaries within which to test a skill that was still new to me, and so I felt really supported through it all. And there were a few moments where I felt like I wasn't gonna be able to pull my weight, but ultimately it's we all came together, and I think I finalized my set like 2 days before the shoot.
I do think that, Nicky, I think that I always admire your work because there's a specificity in the way that Nicky works that I don't work that. I just don't work. I don't work that way. I'm just like, so watching Nicky work, like she was newer to stand up, but the way she frames things, the way she is so specific about what she wants to hit and the beats, and I just really admire. And so. And Anna and I knew that going in, so we really knew that you were going to bring this really special thing to the table, and we're grateful. I was super like, wow.
Oh,
you know, as comedians, like we're just like, roll out of bed, just get on stage.
I guess what I mean, not to poo-poo myself. Thank you. It's like I just want to highlight how supported I felt by you, and Anna was like totally like, girl, we got to hit some open mics. You got to get up there. We got to practice. We were like going out every week. It was like, I feel very supported. And so I'm very proud of what we've accomplished, and I couldn't have done it without y'all.
Yeah. So you just talked about open micing. What was that like, kind of workshopping the material at different environments? Did you feel like different crowds responded to the material differently, because that's kind of the thing with a bar show, like everyone is kind of different in its own vibe.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I feel like I just did a show last weekend and it was like a couple hours away. And for some reason, I read the room and I was like, oh, there's a lot of brown in here. There's a lot of Asians. And then I guess there weren't. And it was like, they were not jamming with the immigrant stuff. They're like, you just want like dating and COVID and like, I don't know, you know what I mean? So it is tricky because you're like, which is going to hit, which is not. But I feel like, again, we just ended up piecemealing and putting everything together, and somehow it came together. I think also because the audience we had, they knew what they were coming in for and going in for, which I think is like, specifically when people see this film, they're going to hear, know from the title, like what it's about. So it's definitely hard to find material that sort of resonates all when you're in, I'm sure when Nicky does shows in Wisconsin, they're going to be, I mean, they're going to love her, but it's going to be like, Yeah.
No, definitely. It is kind of like, you have to guess whether or not the audience is going to hate you or not that night, and it is kind of figuring it out every different time because the mood of the room is differently. Like one of the best shows I ever did was in the parking lot of an H Mart, because all the Asians would come out of the H Mart, and I had a huge Asian crowd because of it. It was one of the best sets I did. Yeah,
that's so perfect.
So it is kind of
the undocumented piece, I think, is the biggest. I talk about everything. I was an HIV positive. I have like suicide jokes, whatever. All of that, they'll stay with you. Sometimes when I do the undocumented, this is why this piece is so important. When I get to the undocumented part, how I talk about how I was brought here, it wasn't like, I was like, Mom, let's paddle over. You know what I mean? It was like, I was brought here and I talk about that. Then I can have a room and lights, a few, and I'm like, huh. And I try that. It happens again and again. Like I think I have them. I'm 20 minutes in, and then beep, beep, beep. And I'm like, huh. still such a sensitive topic, and it's something that I feel like this piece allows us to talk about openly in a, I think it's weird. It's weird.
Yeah, no, it's definitely, I've tried to explain it to people who don't, and it's just like, you can't really even put it into words, the feeling, It is like, yeah, it's weird. I mean, you talked in your set a little bit about performing in China. Do you see, like, is it a different audience over there performing in other countries compared to America? Like, I know theater is different from stand-up, but like, is the feeling any different, or is it just kind of,
Well,
same?
I played Hong Kong, right? And in Hong Kong, like, I talked to the guy, and this was like 2015, so like, wait, was it 2014? 2014. So like, it was a different time maybe, but I was like, should I do my gay stuff? And he was like, I wouldn't address it head on. And I was like, interesting. And theater in China, it's weird doing Miss Saigon in China. Like, that is a communist country. So they sat there and they were like, but then like, it's funny because they're all like very ordered, but there's no safety. Like in the back, there was like no lights for the stagehands at all. And the set pieces were like everywhere. But like, everybody was in order, but like, there was no safety. So it was like, you guys figure it out and be orderly, but we're not going to give you the tools to do. I don't know. That was my experience of it. It was very weird, but it was fun.
No, I've only ever performed in Boston, so like, I have no sense what other audiences are, so it's just interesting to me.
Yeah, it's interesting the kinds of cultural assumptions that are confronted by comedy, like in a meta sense. Because again, like, I'm the noob, right? So like, I had just come from a class where I'm just like, okay, Nikki, we cannot just start off setting up a joke with knowledge that the audience doesn't already have in their pocket, right? So it's going to require some edutainment, a little bit of like TED talkiness before we get to the joke. And so I might need to, and like, that's my style. But like, it goes hand in hand, even like with expectations about when you think, oh, I've covered all my bases, and no matter who listens to this, they're going to understand it. But even if, but like, there's no guarantee. There's never a guarantee. And in some of our open mics, one of my favorites was a queer feminist open mic that we practiced at, and I was like reviewing some of like the tape and stuff that we had taken of each other while we're practicing, and I'm like, wow, this one's gonna kill. It's so funny. Oh, they got all like the highbrow and the lowbrow. And then like, it never worked again. Like, not even like at subsequent like replays, like at that same open mic, but with the like different nights and different people. I'm like, okay, so there was just something about the composition of that one audience that really made this, and like, I wouldn't let it go for the longest. I'm like, no, I can make this work. And it's like, you know what, Nikki, we just gotta cut that or change it because it's not working, and you can't hang on to that one beautiful moment and that one beautiful open mic. So I had to get over that, but everything, learning curve, everything's I think it's a gift.
Yeah, no, it's interesting you talk about that, because like, all three of you bring up really heavy subject matter in your acts, talking about kind of the trauma you've had in your experiences, and how, as writers, do you turn that into entertainment? How do you kind of use that to become comedy, this serious subject matter?
Well, I didn't realize that like looking back at my childhood and things like that, like I wrote monologues in middle school because of like tough times growing up. And I look back now and I'm like, wow, I was already writing back then and, just creating stuff. And I think for me, it was just being a performer and an artist, it was always a place to put something. So it was always a place to put my feelings. It was always a place where I could feel seen. So that's me.
I feel like I feel that I realized very quickly in my life, shame is a great negative emotion multiplier. And so when I started doing comedy, I walked in and I had a lot of shame around things that were difficult to talk about. There's shame around pain, actually. Like, oh, I had that experience. What's wrong with me? Like there's that kind of thing. So it's my practice. Whatever I feel ashamed about, I'm going on stage and doing it. Like, I'm going to figure it out. Like, because I feel like it's very healing. But like that kind of level of exposure actually creates a bonding with the audience, actually. And they'll come with you the more vulnerable you can be. So I find it that whatever I'm going through, I put it on the table, boom, like that. You know what I mean?
My first set was actually, I got dumped, and I actually was so traumatized by the breakup. I was like, I'm going to do stand-up. I'd never done it before. I needed a place to put it. And it was like my breakup set or whatever. And I couldn't put my ex-boyfriend's like face on the stage. So instead I put a framed photo with a person's face on the stage. I can't say his name, but here, and I like put it down. And people were like, oh my God, I relate to getting dumped. I relate to my heart being broken. I relate to like feeling so like lost and not knowing what you're doing. And so putting the pain into something, I totally agree with Aidan. It's a way to connect with the audience.
I was there for that, Anna. I helped you move out and then I put you on that show. I was like, yeah, screw that guy.
Yeah, yes, and all of that as well. And I love what you said, Aidan, about like shame being a negative emotion multiplier. I think that's so true. And like my journey in comedy has been a lot of what they just said about relatability, and like really making a heart connection with the audience, which I think is really facilitated well by sharing in like human humility, shame, humiliation, all the kind of all the crappy things in life, I think are the most accessible to everyone. Like that's a Buddhist principle, right? Living is suffering. It's not like, oh, well, everyone knows what it's like to drive a fancy car. It's like, no, but everyone knows what it's like to have their heart broken. Everyone knows what it's like to be disappointed. Everyone knows what it's like to feel invisible. And so I think leaning into, those personal experiences, but, and also any of like the pet peeves that, one observes, I think is a really great way. I'm still kind of navigating what for me is like a thing. The feedback I've gotten though, is that I'm an edutainment type person. I've got opinions and I need to make them funny if I want anyone to listen to them. So for me, it's how to change my overconfident pontificating lectures into something that anyone other than my journal would care to engage with at all. Well, and that's where I enter into it.
I mean, I think Nicky did a great job, but I think we all like, I think there was this thing, like we all kind of have this like edutainment kind of thing. But I do think that the thing that all of us thread together is like, we do lead with vulnerability first. Like I will say this and this and this happened. Anna will say, we will be vulnerable first. And then we can engage in that emotional connection, just like Nicky said. And then we can talk about our perspective on that. So we make the connection first. And I love that in our specials, because that I think is something that sometimes people miss. They just jump to education. But I think I love your guys in that's my opinion. I think it helps people feel safe in exploring new thought,
And I also think the way each of us in each subject, right? So it's like me being smuggled, being an actor and like not fitting in, finding my identity. Nikki being in Wisconsin and just she's in a cornfield and she's trying to find herself, the bullying, and Aidan, having lost, like all of these things in the special. I feel like it's a universal connectedness. I think people will hopefully watch this and feel seen in the way that they understand those experiences too. They may not be, a Filipino immigrant, but they may be somebody, I don't know, in Idaho who's like, like that's one of the reasons being a performer so special to me, because if I can create or be a part of something where somebody else can feel seen, I am doing my job.
I think
Yeah,
that's also an
that's-
important component in why like our special is like a trio, because you get the multiple perspectives but on a similar theme. Because I think that some of these themes, like Aidan was saying earlier about like the immigration thing kind of being the thing that shuts down the room, it's like when certain topics or ideas are politicized or hyperbolized in such a way that the general public, I guess, or the mainstream is encouraged to only kind of hear an oversimplified, view, or have, in the case of like identity, right? Like a monolithic generalization of what Asian is or queer is or being a woman is. And just by straight up saying, it's like, okay, well, we have a certain set of topics that all three of us have in common that we're going to talk about, and here are three wildly different experiences. I think that also serves the underlying thing that you were just saying, Anna, about just that shared sort of humanity. And because like it's like that diversity of experience, we are kind of like telling you diversity is a good thing, differences are a good thing. And then it's like, well, and if you don't believe us, if you're laughing, you're proving our point no matter what you think, right? So I just love the composition of what we came together to do.
It's great. And I think you really did put together a really fantastic collection of different comedic experiences. We're almost out of time here, but I know we're all comedians and we love to plug things. So I just wanted to give you an opportunity to promote anything you might want to promote for late October, or social media or anything just going around.
Who's going first?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, you go first.
Okay. So, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, just go.
I have
Just
a
promote.
book. It has a foreword by Margaret Cho. It's a bestseller. It's called The Art of Being Yay. It's about finding joy through difficult life situations. And I would love it if everybody would get a copy. Go to theartofbeingyay.com and join my mailing list. And I'll be in touch that way. And social media handles and all that. But that's what I would really love, if everybody would come find me on there and join my mailing list so I can be in touch. And it's like, fun tips for life and stuff like that. So yeah, I'd love to be in touch that way. Thank you.
Yay. Okay.
Yay.
Social media.
Next.
Twitter, Anna P NYC, Anna Parsons 18 for Instagram. And we're also performing this show in Santa Monica. So if you're in Los Angeles in November, we're part of a Crazy Woke Asians, and we'll be doing that. Nikki, it's the 13th, 14th? 13, 14?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. 13th,
It's
14th.
coming up.
It's coming up. And we'll be doing more shows like this. They'll be happening, and we'll be doing other festivals, and you'll be seeing us around.
Yeah. And
12, 13. 12, 13. Sorry.
12, 13.
November 12 and 13.
That's what I said, right?
12, 13.
Yeah.
Everything y'all already said. I guess I would just like to plug, it's an acting thing. I'm really proud of it. I'm guest starring in the upcoming limited series called The Dropout, playing Ana Areola, a real life trans designer. And it's about the Elizabeth Holmes story. It's going to be on Hulu, and I don't know when it's released, but I love to talk about it because I'm very proud of it and had a brilliant time working with everyone.
Well, that's all the time we have here. Thanks so much to our filmmakers for coming and having this conversation with us. This was very engaging and important. BAAFF, along with the recording of this conversation, will be available through Sunday evening, and extended run of our shorts will be available through November 1st. You can visit the artsemerson.org for tickets and more information on that. This film is up for the Audience Choice Award, so please cast your audience ballot by clicking on the button on the bottom of your screen in the previous viewing window, and let us know how much you love the film. Thanks so much for joining us, and enjoy the rest of the festival.